Good morning, everybody. It's May, May 9th, 2019. This is online yoga with Via. We're starting with some breath work and some actually neck and shoulder releases. But just start by lying on the ground with your bent knees. You may have a stack of washcloths under your head. This is your personal preference. And just slow down and notice your breath. And bring your hands behind your head, interlace your fingers, create a little cradle for the base of your skull, the occipital ridge. And while you're here, without moving anything else, shift your eyeballs to the right and wait for a yawn, swallow, sigh, or gulp. And then come back to center. Shift your eyeballs to the left without doing anything else. And wait for a yawn, sigh, swallow, or gulp. Now Dana, who's not here today, I don't know whether she's coming, but she says she actually presses her head down and then she gets a yawn. So she does a little bit of head ramping. So you could try that, but if you press it down, then you want to keep it stable. The main movement is the eyeballs. Do this vagus nerve reset, 2 more sets on your own. And then go ahead and keep your hands here and do some head ramping, just pressing the back of the skull, the base of the skull, into your cradle that you've created with your hands. Pressing, the nose will drop because of the resistance you've created between your skull and your hands. And then release. And do this about 4 times. And think of the space in which everything's moving. So the skull is moving. There's always space around the joints and around the bones, around the muscles. Think of that as you press. Think of the slide, the occipital ridges sliding back and down. And today during the practice, if you can, always think of the space in which the movement is happening. Before we move on to just breath work, I want you to get your sponge ball, if you have one, and put it under your head, and we'll just do a few things at the neck. I'm going to post, actually, I've started to post some articles on Medium, and I'm going to post something I wrote last year about the sponge ball. Maybe it was the year before, so that you can have another reference on how to use your sponge ball. So under the head at the occipital ridge, and you're just going to nod chin up and chin down. Just about 10 degrees forward and 10 degrees back.
Kathy.
If you guys have a question, you can put it in the chat. You can unmute yourself and say something.
I don't have Kathy here.
You don't have Kathy?
Mhm.
I have, let me see something. I'm going to spotlight Kathy. Do you see Kathy now?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. So I think that what I did is I said pin instead of spotlight. Good. Those are the kinds of things I need to know so that you'll have a better class. Well, I said hello to everybody but Suzanne, but she's here now and she came in late, so hi, Suzanne. And go ahead and just do a right, left. So side to side, same slow movement. I love doing neck releases, movements, cervical spine movements over the ball because it creates a lot of safety. If you have tension or pain in your cervical spine, you can work your way out of it with movements like this, or you can prevent having movements by keeping this area mobile, with especially with this sponge ball. And now put the sponge ball under your back between your shoulder blades, or a chest opener. Now, depending on how tight your shoulders are and some other factors, you may not want to drop your head all the way down to the floor. You may want to drop it onto a yoga brick or a stack of washcloths. But you want to bring it back as far as you can because that's part of this movement. So while you're here, we're going to do some of our breathing patterns. So, Troy, Kathy, do you have a thinner brick than that, or is that the thinnest? So you might want to support your head, but not too much because you want the curvature that occurs in the thoracic and cervical spine that occurs because you have a sponge ball at your mid-back or upper back. Okay. So Kathy's ball is down a little, and that's okay. I want you to find a place that's right for you. It could be closer up to your, towards your head. This is about as far down as I want you to get because I want you to work on an opening in the chest. Bring your hands up into a cactus pose, if you can. If not, straight out in a T. Palms up. Feel the opening in the chest. Just take some breaths here. Let's do an ujjayi breath while you're here. I described this last week, and I think I forgot to say keep your mouth closed, so you're always breathing through your nose. And you're making a sound, closing off the throat a little bit to make a sound that's like a whisper. Probably no one else but you will hear it. But it actually helps to increase the circulation of oxygen into the extremities of the body. So ujjayi breathing, and you could actually always you could do this during any of your practice. This was a very popular breath when I first started taking yoga years ago, decades ago. The whole room would be practicing with this ujjayi breath. Then you could hear it. You could hear it all together. Yes. So Caitlin asked if she could use the mobility strip because she doesn't have a sponge ball. Well, she has one, but she loaned it to her husband for his lower back. Yes, you can use the mobility strip vertically along your spine. Similar, not the same, but similar chest opening. And it just creates a little challenge for the spine and the cervical and thoracic spine. And now bring your hands along around your rib cage, up pretty high, not right up near your breasts. And then breathe in, inhale. There's an expansion of the rib cage, and then exhale, and it retreats. And think of your expansion as going side to side and back to front. Now, this is actually a typical Pilates breath. And also, I was reading in Facebook, in the Pilates teacher Facebook group, that nurses are now teaching people this ribcage breathing when they have COVID-19. There's a couple more ribcage breaths. This is also called diaphragmatic breathing or thoracic breathing. But it focuses on breathing at the chest, but not high, not up by the throat, mid-back. And then take your brick from your head and put your washcloths back there. Take your sponge ball away. We're going to do a hypopressive. We're going to do the bridge pose using the hypopressive, more breath work and more core, adding the pelvic floor and core work because it's a hypopressive. In a hypopressive, you take 3 breaths and then hold your breath out after the last exhale. Hold your inhale out, your rib cage expands, your belly scoops, and you hold your breath out for 10 counts, and I'll do the counting. So, but we're not going to do the basic one. Keep your hands by your side. We're going to lift the hips into a bridge after the 3 breaths. So start with your hips down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Hold your breath out, no breath. And I'm going to count to 10. 1, 2. Oh, lift your hips. Sorry, lift your hips. Yep, Kathy lifts her hips. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And the other cue that I forgot that I hope you guys remembered, I know we've done this before, is to lift your toes so you've dorsiflexed your ankles. So the heels are on the floor, the toes are up. So let's do it again, and this time, when you lift your hips, I want you to also take your arms overhead by your ears, or as far as you can get them. So take one breath, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. I've lost count. Let's do one more inhale. Sorry, Kathy. And exhale. Now lift your hips, hold your breath out, no breath. Hips go up, arms go up overhead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Inhale, and the hips come down and the arms come down. So I got distracted because I was trying to look at everybody's movement, but I think maybe not. I shouldn't be doing that when I'm counting. So, the next thing we're going to do is a little bit of supine hip work. And so just, I want you to take your legs straight out along the floor. And internally rotate. So I want you to internally rotate your hips and externally rotate. This is a very small, but it's a nice way to isolate internal and external rotation at the hips. So internally, the hips rotate, both of them. Well, let's do one at a time. Maybe it's easier. Do the right leg first. So internally, you rotate internally, and then externally. So try not to move your hips. It's just the movement at where the femur meets the acetabulum in the pelvis. So keep your pelvis on the floor and rotate in and out. The toes will go out, but you don't want to move you don't want to lead with the toes. So lead with the head of the femur and rotate in and out. You can do this in bed. It's really a nice way to loosen up. Think of the space in which the head of the femur is moving. So there's space, there's a dent in the acetabulum, which is part of the acetabulum is the dent in the pelvis. There's the femur, head of the femur, and think of it moving. Think of the space in that movement. And then go to the left side. And these are fundamental movements in the hip joint. If we keep lubricating our hips this way, we may not have to have, as we age, hip replacements. Although, by the way, some people, my teacher, Jill Miller, had a hip replacement. Well, I think she had it because of some repetitive yoga poses she did years before. But you wouldn't, this will help keep your hips healthy. And it's a really simple movement. And then stop that and find your strap, whether it's a yoga strap or a karate strap or a robe strap. Find your strap, keep your you could keep your left leg bent or straight, but bring your right leg up toward the ceiling. Yes, and you may or may not, so, and I'm gonna do the resistance version. So put your hands around your thigh or a strap around your thigh. If you can reach around your thigh, use your hands. So the strap is really for people who can't reach. And now you're going to pull, your hands are going to pull your leg forward while your thigh resists the movement. And then you're going to go back and forth. This is a resistance movement. And it's a small movement. It's a hamstring stretch, central hamstring stretch. So push back. When you're pushing back, push back farther than that. Kathy, if you can, push. No, not when you're pushing away, your leg is pushing away, go back as far as you can. So remember, the hand is always resisting the movement of the thigh, and the thigh is always resisting the movement of the hand. And it's a dance. Back and forth, you should feel a stretch and a strengthening that's happening. So as your leg is winning and coming forward, and the hand is resisting, no, as your hand is resisting and winning, and the leg is coming forward, that's the stretching part of the Ki-Hara resistance. And then when you go back out, that's the strength. So these are subtle movements, but because they're the best kind of stretching, because you're both stretching and strengthening, and you're stretching the belly of the muscle rather than one end or the other, rather the insertion or the origin. So holding on, creating resistance. Sometimes the hand wins, sometimes the thigh wins. And then switch sides, do the other side. Now I'm going to try to start a check on people. Some people have their bodies in the frame. So go the other way now, Diana. Can you go back? So the leg comes back, the hand resists that movement, but the hand and the leg are always resisting each other. That's the name of the game here. Pressing. Nice. And then come on back. So now the thigh is winning, the hand is resisting that movement. Nice, Diana. If you have tight hamstrings, this is going to help. So switch sides. It's the resistance that's the good, Leslie. It's the resistance that does the trick here. And now go ahead and do it a couple more times, and then switch to the other side and keep your leg straight and circle your ankles. So we're moving to a so Kathy didn't switch, but that's okay. She's on her left still, and just so that you get some ankle circles out of this movement. You're still holding onto your leg. And then switch sides and circle the ankles on the other side. And then go ahead and bring your legs down, bent knees, feet on the floor. Bring your arms up toward the ceiling, palms facing each other. And we're going to do scapula protraction, retraction from a supine position. So think of the scapula as moving along the back of the rib cage. And you're going to move the scapula away from the spine. So, and when you do that, the arms go up toward the ceiling. But make this a scapular movement. So the arms are straight up toward the ceiling, Parvin. Yes, that's better. Make this a scapular movement, and you're going protracting. The arms come up, and then retracting. The scapula moves toward the spine, and the arms come back, retreat also. So back and forth you go, protraction, scapula protracts, and then it retracts. And think of the space in which this is occurring. So there's a glenohumeral joint, it's a very loose joint, with a head of the femur, of the humerus, the arm bone, moving in that joint, moving, and the scapula moving. So there's several things happening here. And now go ahead and keep your hands toward the ceiling, and then take an inhale, and then exhale, take the arms overhead by the ears. So towards your ears, towards the wall, towards the door. Yeah, there you go, Cobra. Yeah. And just stay here. This is a power position. Stay here with your arms overhead. You might feel your core working. And then slowly bring them back to the start position. And do this position 3 or 4 more times. The arms go overhead, then they return. This is all an arm bone movement. Inhale. Or just assign a breath and then exhale. Actually, I like it better the other way. Inhale to prepare, and then exhale overhead, arms overhead. And return a couple more times. Come back to the original point and go to bring your arms out to your side, lateral. This is a lateral abduction, adduction, and then bring your arms back to center, about shoulder distance apart, and just opening up and thinking of where this movement comes from. So when you're able to do a movement slowly with breath and awareness of the breath and the movement, you're increasing your sense of where your body is in time and space externally and also internally. What's happening inside the body? It's called interoception. And just one more. And finish up there, and then come up to your favorite floor-seated position. We're going to do some shoulder work on the floor, from a floor-seated position. This is resistance too. One of the things that happened is I had a private online virtual session with someone who was having shoulder issues. Actually, it was Gloria who comes to this class sometimes and said she was going to come today. So I thought, well, I'll review some of those movements. Well, here she's not here, but you get the benefit of the movements. So the first one, which I think at least used to be called in my Ki-Hara training Saturday Night Fever, you're going to start where it's a cross-patterning movement that works on the shoulder, the front of the shoulder and the back of the shoulder. So take your right arm up to the sky and then hold on to the right wrist with the left hand. And pull your arm up a little bit, the right arm. And now take that right arm over across your body to the opposite knee with resistance. So the top hand is resisting, is winning actually. The bottom arm is resisting. And then you come back again. So the same resistance, this time the long arm, the straight bottom arm is winning, and the other hand is resisting. Always moving, always resisting. If you have boobs that get in the way, then just take your arms and put them a little bit farther out around. Or don't go so far down. So you should always be able to find something, some sort of resistance. Now, when you get down to the bottom, then drop your head so away from your right arm, ear to shoulder. Just a nice neck stretch. Towards your hands. Drop your head towards your hands. And then bring your head up, and then bring your hand up. I hope everyone is finding, go ahead and keep doing this. I'm going to go look at people and see if they are finding the resistance. So Leslie, lean your head towards your arms, your hands. Lean your head, yeah, right there it is. And then bring your head back up and then bring your arm back up. So the torso's not moving at all. This is an arm movement alone. It's a cross-patterning arm movement. It's really good for creating or ungluing the arms, basically. Go ahead and switch sides. Other hand goes up. Other arm pulls on it and then brings it down across the body. Nice. So remember, this is not, and then the head drops. Remember that this is not, the torso keeps looking straight ahead, your breasts straight ahead, just like headlights. You should feel this all up around the shoulder and the shoulder socket. Creating strength and mobility in the shoulder and the arm socket. Very nice, everybody. So that's just, we'll do another one. We'll do a bent elbow. Now this movement, you're going to bring your elbow up in front of you, bend your elbow. Let's do one at a time, right? If there's only one way to do it. 90-degree right angle, Kathy. Hold on to that elbow with the other hand. That's your resistance point. Bring it out a little bit to the side. Now remember, you're not rotating the torso. The arm comes out, the bent elbow arm comes out, and now you've created some resistance here, and you're going to pull with your left hand across. Pull that elbow across while the elbow is resisting across the front of your chest. Nice. And then when you reach that point, then you keep moving, you move the other direction. This time, the bent elbow that's lifted is winning, and the arm that was pushing it across before is resisting that movement. Go as far out to the side as you can, and then come on back. So do it slowly. I get a cramp in my left hip when I do it fast. I want to see what other people are doing here. So this is a dance. Come out as far as you can, Vivian. Go as far as you can, and always resisting. The arm that's holding onto the elbow is always resisting the movement of the elbow. And you're going to come all the way over to the other side as far as you can. Wow, yeah. So that might be for you. So it's good. It's good to stop too. It's good to stop when you need to. But that might be something. It looks like you're having issues in your shoulders. tightness and stuff, this can really help. Go ahead and switch sides, everybody, if you haven't already. So resist with your bent elbow, Kathy. Okay, let's see here. Keep your elbows bent and your arm is up toward the ceiling. And the elbow is being pulled across with your other hand. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Move slow. And Kathy, take your elbow all the way out to the side. Yes, yeah, all the way across if you can. Oh, is this your cranky side?
That is, and that's
Yeah.
what's
That's what's stopping you? Okay. So just take it as, you don't want to go, so you're always moving, you're always resisting, and you're never going into pain. So Kathy has a cranky shoulder. These movements should help, but she's not going to go as far as I'm asking her to go, basically. So that's the story. And then she's coming back across. And the last, go ahead and finish that up. The last one we're going to do is what I call elbow clams. It's another resistance movement. It's really good for shoulders. You're going to interlace your fingers in front of you. Bring your elbows up to your chin, as high as your chin. Your hands are up. It's a triangle. Your hands are up high, and your elbows are at your chin or higher. Good. Now, you're going to, on your movement, you're going to pretend that there's a balloon in between your elbows and you are deflating that balloon. So create an imaginary resistance with your elbows, bring them toward each other, and then you create an imaginary resistance as the balloon inflates. So the balloon deflates, and the balloon inflates, and keep going. I'm going to check on people just for fun. Nice, good, you look good, Parvin, yep. Just imagine you have a balloon in there and keep your elbows up at least as high as your chin. You can actually practice a variety of movements by bringing the elbows even a little higher. And just stop. For people who haven't done this, you may actually already feel exhausted. So stop when you need to. Sometimes I just keep talking. Let's go ahead and go up to standing because I want to be sure and get in the three-way ankle stretch on the half round so that Vivian knows how to use her half round. You can actually, you can notice that you could use your half round under your head sometimes, or you could sit on your half round. So it has other uses, but my main use for it, and it's the perfect prop for it, is ankle stretches. And I put a half round at my stove, at my sink, and at my bathroom sink, and then I actually work on my ankles during my day and night. Go ahead and Kathy's going to put her the front of her foot on the top of the half round, and her heel is on the bottom. Now that in itself is a darn good stretch, actually. But moving is even better. So she's going to move her ankle, flex her ankle towards the wall, and then return. So flex, the front of the foot stays on the half round. The heel stays down. The ankle comes forward. It's going to come forward more or less depending on your ankle flexibility, but this is a great way to increase your ankle flexibility. So coming forward, and the knee, watch the knee. So if the knee starts hurting, you've gone too far with the knee. The knee isn't a leader anyway, it's a follower. So the ankle initiates the flex, and the knee comes forward because of that. But you should be feeling this in the ankle. Forward, straight forward, and then the next movement we're going to do, and I would do this 6 to 12 times, and then do it towards the inside. So you're shifting your flexion a little bit. So the same position, and then the flexion goes towards the inside of the foot. This is ankle flexion. The same thing goes. Everything I said about the knee applies in this direction also. These will be smaller. The side movements, we're going to go to the outside next. The side movements are smaller. But this is forward flexion to the inside of the foot. And then forward flexion to the outside of the foot. So stop the inside flexion and come back to center, and then go towards the outside. This is probably the smallest movement of all. If you do these movements, this movement, and you're wearing the Noboso insoles, or you use them, you will create better posture, a better sense of balance, and you will have an increased sense of proprioception in your feet. And mobility, also mobility in your ankle. Now, if you can, you could be doing this without leaning forward Kathy's leaning forward into the wall, but if you can, do this with good posture. So that you're practicing, it's just it's stacking of tasks, good posture and ankle movement. But then it becomes a balancing. You still want to be near a wall or a chair. Go ahead and switch to the other side, everybody. Can't see you. So switch to the other side, and the next move is going to be forward flexion at the ankle. And the other leg is not moving. Just the one. I believe this is the most effective ankle mobility strengthener, mobility stretcher and strengthener of the ankle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that okay to have pain and pressure behind your knee when you do that?
No. Make it smaller. If you have pain in the knee, behind the knee or in front of the knee, anywhere, make the movement smaller, because you've gone too far and you've used the knee instead of the ankle. So it's not okay. Make it smaller. Okay? So after you've done a number of forward flexion, now do it flexing slightly to the inside of the foot. You're still using the ankle. If you feel the knee at all, back, in the front of the knee, the back of the knee, the side of the knee, any of the knee, feel that you've gone too far. Make the movement smaller. If you keep doing this, repeat this on a regular basis, your range of motion will increase without knee pain. And actually, the knee gets better because whenever you improve the mobility and flexibility in the knee, you will improve your knee health. So, Vivian, hope you don't mind my sharing, feels more like a, whoops. I realized I sent a message to Vivian instead of Caitlin earlier, but anyway, this feels more like, this is an Achilles stretch. It does stretch the Achilles, but the Achilles is the back part of the ankle, but I would have, it may be that your ankles are very tight in the front, and so you don't feel much movement yet in the front of the ankle. Maybe you don't have much ankle flexion ability right now. But if you keep doing this, that should improve. Go ahead and do the outside. So flexing. But yes, the fact that you've dropped your heel automatically involves the Achilles and the calf. So there you go. If I were you, unless you have really strong ankles that don't need this kind of attention, I would do this ankle stretch every day or twice a day. It will call to you. After you keep doing it, your ankles will actually long for this. Let's go ahead and stop that and come down onto the floor, onto your hands and knees. We're going to do a balancing pose and then some back extensions. Start on your hands and knees, quadruped is called. We're going to do bird dog, which is balancing and core work. So go ahead and take your right hand parallel to the floor and then your opposite leg. This is also cross patterning, which is very good for you. Stay here. Take a couple breaths. Find your core, feel it working. Try to keep your shoulders and your hips even, so don't tilt one to one side or the other. And slowly switch sides. Left leg, right leg, left arm. And if you check your hips and see if the lifted leg is higher, the hip on the lifted leg is higher than the hip on the knee down leg. And then if it is, just try to even it out. And come back and repeat this several times. Right, left, right, left. And breathing and being aware of your breath. Now you can tell why this is a balancing pose. And if this is too much for you, you could start out just doing one arm and then the other leg. So not doing both at the same time. So it just depends on you. This is a great move. One of the things I like about this movement, it's core work, it's balancing work, it's cross-patterning work. So it does a lot of things. A lot of times the poses I choose are ones that do a lot. You get a lot of bang for your buck. Finish up the last set. And then come down onto the floor for back extension. Prone, so you're going to be lying on your belly. With your arms beside your hips, palms up. We're going to first do a couple without bringing the arms up to the side in a T, and then later we'll add that. Take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift your chest, your arms, your head. Stay here or come up a little higher. Take some breaths. And then inhale, and then exhale and return. Now we're going to add airplane arms, but first we're going to come up again just the way we were, the basic move. Take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, the lift, chest, arms, head. Come up a little higher if you can. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, the arms come out. Whoops, stay high, come out. And you're in airplane. Inhale, and then exhale, come on down. We're going to do 2 more of these. If your lower back starts to hurt, you need to make the movement, the uplift, smaller. Or if this becomes really hard and you get tired, come into a child's pose. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, the arms come out to the side. Lift if you can, lift higher if you can, but not if it involves your lower back. Inhale to prepare, and exhale to return. 1 more, unless you want to come into a child's pose. Inhale to prepare, exhale, lift. Nice, Kathy. Inhale to prepare and exhale, arms into airplane. And you may want to lift up a little while you continue to breathe. Inhale and exhale. Everything returns to the floor. And you could come into a child's pose. That would be a nice stretch for your lower back. Just a transition, because we're going to do, we're going to do one more thing before the Yoga Nidra. This should be a resting pose, but in order to make it a resting pose, you may want to put your head on a brick. You may want to put a blanket on between your hips and your heels. You may want to put a blanket, or look there. You may want to put a blanket or a mobility strip underneath your ankles, because that's hard on some people. This should be a resting pose, though. Find your own restfulness. And then after a couple breaths, come onto your belly again with your arms out in a T. We're going to do a thoracic stretch for the upper back. We've done a lot of nice shoulder work today. I hope your shoulders are feeling it and thanking you for it. Look, if you're looking to the left, then take your left leg and bring it across over the opposite leg. This is a hover. The top leg is hovering. And you're keeping your armpits and your arms on the floor. And just stay here and breathe. Keep your legs straight. It could be small for you if you're just starting to do this. Come on back to the beginning. Look the other direction, looking to the right. Right leg lifts and hovers and crosses over. The hips will move, but you don't want the upper back to move. The armpits and the arms stay on the floor. That's where the rotation, the thoracic twist comes in. This really is really good for releasing the upper back. Come on back. I want you to do that left, right 2 more times without my cueing it. I'm going to go look at people, see if I can find how people are doing on this one. I can't see Leslie. A couple of people have no picture. Can you bring your arms straight out on a T, Parvin? No, on the floor. Can you bring your arms straight out in a T on the floor? Yeah. Now lift your leg and bring it across. Yes. It doesn't have to be much. The point is not to move your shoulders. It doesn't have to be much. The leg does not have to move very much. And then just repeat on the other side. Some people have their pictures up, but I can't see them. Their bodies are not in the screen. Here you are. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
That's tough.
It's tough. Make it smaller, Parvin. Make it smaller. This is really good for you. Follow the rules, but make it smaller.
It gets easier.
It gets easier as you continue. Yeah, this one you might want to do every day. A lot of these things you might want to do every day. Actually, nice, Diana. Yeah, it gets easier as you continue. And your upper back gets looser and gets more functional. Pull on your sciatic. Okay. Then I would make it smaller or not do it at all, at least on the side that it pulls on. We have some other things that we can do for your sciatic. This is not to be pulling, you shouldn't be pulling on your sciatic. No, that's a lower back. So if this ever involves your lower back, then make it smaller. Come on back, everybody, and finish up. And find your way onto your back for Yoga Nidra, 61-point guided meditation. You may want to put a blanket over yourself to keep warm, or you may want to put a small washcloth over your eyes. The idea is to be comfortable, relaxed. The legs can be straight or bent, whichever is more comfortable for you, or you could put your legs up on a chair. I'm going to ask you to pay attention, move your attention to various body parts, but please don't move the body parts. Starting with your breath. Watching the breath in and coming in and out. And then bringing your awareness to the center of your eyebrows, center of your throat, right shoulder, elbow, wrist, right thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, right wrist, elbow, right shoulder, center of your throat, left shoulder, elbow, wrist, left thumb, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, fifth finger, left wrist, left elbow, shoulder, center of your throat, spiritual heart center, right side of your chest, heart center, left side of your chest, heart center, navel center, center of your pelvis, right hip, right knee, right ankle, right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, right ankle, knee, hip, center of your pelvis, left hip, left knee, ankle, left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, left ankle, knee, hip, center of your pelvis, navel center, heart center, center of your throat, center of your eyebrows. This completes the 61-point guided Yoga Nidra meditation. Go ahead and start to wiggle and move, and you may want to extend your legs and extend your arms overhead and stretch in both directions. Wiggle and stretch, wiggle your fingers and your toes. Wiggle your right side and your left side. Like a cat, like my cat. And then hug your right knee to your chest and your left knee to your chest. And rock your knees from side to side. And roll towards the spine into a fetal position. Use your bottom arm, bent elbow to rest your head. And thank yourself for coming to the practice, taking care of yourself today while we're in quarantine. You can still stay healthy and keep moving. Bring your top arm to the floor, press yourself up to seated. This is the safest and easiest way to get up from the floor. Seated. There are other ways, but this is the easiest. If you have a grandma or someone who can't get up off the floor, teach them that, starting from that sideline position. We're going to close the class. Before we close, I want to say that I'm going to send out from now on, I'm sending out the reminder letter in my mail program called Mailer Lite. So it's going to look a little different. I put your names up on that Mailer Lite program, but only for this, it's not the general subscriber list. It's the subscribing to this class list. And I have 68 people I sent out a notice to. That's why I had to kind of figure out how to do it a little easier. So it's going to look a little different, but it's going to have the same information in it. And again, you can subscribe or not subscribe and share or not share. So I just wanted to warn you that. We're going to close everybody by bringing your hands together and pressing the palms in towards each other, maybe feeling some of the proprioceptors on the palms, just like the feet. And then just rock or roll your occipital ridge, the skull, over the top of the spine. Nodding, bowing, and saying to each other, Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you. I'm going to turn off the recording. You can stick around if you want. Or ask
Thank you.